Boy, here we are. All right. Is my microphone working? I hope so. Okay. Well, I guess we'll hope so. We'll figure it out. But all right, this is me going live streaming. A lot of technology out there I don't fucking understand. But who cares? All right. I guess I want to just start off with why the hell I'm doing this. Um, I guess that starts back to when I don't know, maybe when things stopped making sense. So I was born in Colorado. I was always a good kid, probably smarter than most. Tried to fit in a lot of ways I did, in a lot of ways I didn't. The only child. Socially, I was always kind of a step or two behind. And it was tough. It was really tough. But I was always really good at trying to figure things out, diving into things and trying to, understand them. And always wanted to have a nice life. Wanted to have it easy. Was willing to work hard. I worked real hard. And it turns out a lot of the stuff we were taught as kids is all crap. Um, Being smart, going to school, working hard was not an equivalent to prosperity, to having a nice life. In order to have a nice life, you had to have a rich daddy. You had to know a couple of the right people, or you had to be willing to step on your neighbor. And it's a lot easier to step on your neighbor when that neighbor is out of sight. But yeah, I was an Eagle Scout, man. I followed the rules. I got a master's degree in electrical power systems. I mean, I went to school. I studied. I was a do-gooder. I did the right thing. When I was around people that weren't doing the right thing, weren't playing the rules, it made me uncomfortable. I didn't like it. And then, I went through a divorce, and it really shook me up. Um, my whole life I didn't want to get divorced. I didn't want to go through it, and I think I summoned it in, to be honest with you. But that's when everything changed. That's when I kind of gave up on the idea that I knew everything or that I could control everything, where I could make everything happen. I kind of turned the power over to somebody else. I wasn't sure who that was. A kind of real spiritual change, and I started questioning everything, trying to figure things out. Really know the truth and not just what I'm told. And that was all it took. Because once I started studying and researching, I realized that there was a lot of lies out there, a lot of bad things happening to us. And it's across the board. Okay, it's not just a few of us. Everybody's getting screwed because our mortgages—they're complete fraud. They're all prepaid, and yet state governments and the lawyers and the mortgage people and the bankers all intentionally convince us we owe them something. And they intentionally do it even though they don't know. Okay? Everybody in banking and state governments doesn't really know what they're doing to us. They just know they have the power and they're going to maintain it. And if it means something awful happened in the past, well, that wasn't their fault. And they're not going to fix it. And so yeah, I bought a house in 2021 and I never made one mortgage payment because I read the Federal Reserve Act. And I saw that when I gave them a note, they could take that and turn it into the fiat, which means they had everything they needed. They did not reach into their pocket and extend anything to me. They don't do that to anybody. That's bad business. Ask anybody. Ask all your smart money friends. Is taking your money and loaning it to somebody else, especially somebody you don't know and you never met. Is that a good idea? Nope. No one's going to say that's a good idea. But if you take their value first, without them knowing it, then giving them something doesn't mean shit. You already got the real thing, so you can give them this other thing. And what's awful is if you can convince those people that you're loaning it to them and they have to buy it, pay it back. So you took their money in the first place and now they're going out and hustling for it to give you even more money. I mean, that is so fucking awful. It's disgusting. None of us can see it for some reason. And so when I realized it was happening, I had faith in the court system. I thought that if I could express myself and show them, controversy would be resolved, but that's not the case. We're enslaved by our mortgages. The courts will not let us out of them, even though we've prepaid them, even though the banks took the real value. And so that's why I'm here. That's why we're doing this, because a lot of awful things happen to us because of fake money or just because of money. I mean, how many relationships have been broken? How many families have been broken over simple arguments over money? And they're fucking fake. So there is a mechanism. There's a way, and it's difficult. It's challenging. You're not going to be able to think the same way. You're going to have to see that you've been lied to and you've been traumatized and you've been poisoned your whole life. And you're going to have to heal from that. You absolutely have to. You cannot see the truth while you're poisoned. Right? And even if I gave you all the answers and all the systems and everything right now in one little cheat code, it wouldn't translate to production the next day. It's going to take a while, It's going to take a while to see it and understand it and trust it. Because like I said, I didn't trust it at first. I learned a bunch of this stuff and I was like, no, the courts aren't like that. The courts aren't that bad. If you can say the right thing, the judge is a good guy. He's going to do the right thing. Right? I got friends that are lawyers, or I had friends that are lawyers. I have friends that work for law firms. Trust me, they let me know that they think I'm crazy. But with the system, I mean, we hang out with these people, right? We go to dinner with them. We socialize with them. It can't be that bad. But they are. Either through their ignorance or through evil, they are forcing us to participate in a system that's just not for us. It's not for the living soul. It's not in common law. It's a commercial system. And the screwed up thing about it, or one of the many screwed up things about it, is that when you're in it and you're speaking for the corporation, you can lie. You can make shit up. You can tell people they have to do stuff. Right? If I tell you you have to jump off a bridge, what does that mean? You're either going to do it or you're not. Right? It sounds ludicrous, or it makes total sense. And paying your debts makes total sense. You got something, you got to pay for it. Hijacking your conscience, your kindness of doing the right thing, they've hijacked that. And the Constitution says that they cannot counterfeit the securities for the nation. And they have. We are the securities now. Okay, now to say we are counterfeited is a little tricky, because they're not copying us and depositing us for the value someplace else. That would be obvious counterfeit. What they're doing is saying that we're the value, but we're going to treat you like you're not the value. And the reality is that they did the opposite of counterfeit. Instead of taking value and creating new value or counterfeit value, right? They've basically taken away the original value, the real thing, took a piece of paper from us and then created this counterfeit. Okay. And that's original counterfeiters, counterfeited, don't know that we're the thing. Um, I mean, there's even court cases where the court has told the banks to do something, to provide evidence or something, because somebody actually made a legit argument. And what do the banks do? Nothing. They don't even respond to these courts. They don't listen to these courts. Your state courts and your county courts. That's the deal, really. If you go in there to try to prove that you don't owe a debt or the date's prepaid or any of that stuff, the courts aren't going to hear it. They're not going to let you. Little state courts aren't going to let you talk about it. Even if you make the case perfectly, they're not going to enforce it. They're going to enforce it against the banks. Banks are just going to ignore them. That's why your only shot is at federal court. And even then, they still have a civil court. They can still turn you into a civil thing at federal courts, but they also have a constitutional obligation. Okay. And that's the part you got to study and see and know, that there are venues required by the Constitution. But again, we get into the argument: is anybody even paying attention to the Constitution? Hard to say. I do believe at the end of the day that there is equity, and that equity hasn't changed. There's just been a new fictitious thing that is laid on top of it, and we've all been sucked into that. And it's easy to believe that the original thing doesn't exist anymore, but I believe it has. I believe it's still there. Okay. I do believe that there is a republic, even though it's dormant, because nothing would exist. The United States wouldn't exist if the original thing was gone. So, if I put it on some Instagram videos before, but the United States is a trust, okay, and there is an obligation from the trustee to the beneficiaries that I don't think has even gone away. But it's so broad; it's not a specific beneficiary; it's a broad group. And so, and it's very natural for people, members of that broad group of beneficiaries, to decide that they want to be trustees so that they can help the beneficiaries, help the people. I'm going to go be an officer in the law or in the government so that I can help people. I mean, that's a story we told once, right? In the beginning. But when you do that, when you become an officer, you're a trustee now. You don't have beneficial protections, beneficial interests. You're a performer. And so when they've tricked all of America out of their beneficial position, then the constitutional protections don't really exist anymore. They're not there. Okay. We, the people, have inalienable rights. When we choose to be officers of a federal government or citizens of it, those go away. Okay. These civil courts, they told me the Constitution doesn't apply. They told it to me. I'll try to cite the Constitution and the Fourth Amendment. So that does not apply here. So it's not just a couple of bad judges and there are a couple of bad cops. It's the whole damn thing. The whole system is rotten. And once you see it that all lawyers are lying to you, and everybody in the state government is lying to you, and all cops are lying to you, forcing a system upon you that you don't even know about, let alone agree to, they are attacking you. They are the enemy of the people. They are the ones tricking you into a system that makes you suffer. And then somehow you break bread with them. It's pretty damn awful. It's disgusting. And so I do believe that ultimately the people have to confront these individuals that are in their circle. If you have a lawyer in your circle or a cop or anybody that works for the state or the county, you need to ask him why they're doing this to us. Why are they treating us like fiction? Why are they treating sovereign people like fiction? A lot of people won't know what you're talking about, but that in itself identifies the problem. These people holding these offices don't know. They only know what they can do. They only know what the higher ups tell them that they can do. And you know, if you recognize also the way the laws are written, okay, they're written by nonprofit government entities. A nonprofit government entity. Feel free to look it up. Every state has them. These nonprofit government entities are ultimately corporations because every nonprofit is ultimately still a corporation. They write the law and give it to the legislators. And then the legislators take it and say, hey, I want to bring this bill to the floor to be voted on. And they didn't write it. Okay, they don't write any of them. The industry writes the laws for the state government, the statutes. Okay. And people don't exist in it. Okay. The people do not exist in state governments, any government. It's all corporations. Okay. And they just, that they write these laws that we're supposed to follow that do nothing but support the corporate world. Okay. Every corporation is an attack on the living soul. You having to go work for a corporation just to eat is a trick. It's an ensnarement. It's a lie. Okay, they're ultimately forcing you to be something you're not, just so you can survive. I mean, if that's not slavery or something worse, I don't know what it is. Okay, I've been live for about 16 minutes. Oh, looks like I got one. Somebody's on. Can I see who you are? Oh, well. All right, so this is a trial run. We'll see what happens. I'm going to try to do this weekly. But yeah, the name of the game, we are occupied by a foreign power, just like Israel's trying to do to Gaza. Israel has occupied every friggin' nation with bullshit governments and fake money. I mean, if you look at history, anybody that's ever stood up to the fake money has died. Hitler was the first one. Gaddafi, Saddam, JFK, they all died. Okay. Because as soon as the story gets into us, to the people, then it's a different world. And that's what's happening now. And that's why the system pushes back on this so much, because it is the thing. Every awful thing that you can imagine, the poisoning of our water, of our skies, the trafficking, the adrenochrome, what else? The liberal agenda, the smart cities, the DEI, the whatever was allowed to happen, has been allowed to happen because the people aren't part of the government anymore. And that is the problem, because nobody is answering to the people, and the people aren't demanding service or performance because they can't. They're not party to it. Okay, please go look at your state constitution. Look at your state constitution and tell me where the people exist. They mention the people. They talk about the people in the state constitutions, all of them. I guarantee it. But not completely. It's not all people. It's usually just the 3 or 4 of the Bill of Rights where they talk about people. And Colorado's amazing. It's the only one I've seen where the number 2 Bill of Rights in Colorado, state of Colorado, says the people have the exclusive right of self-governance. That's all that matters. If you get that, that is all that matters. Okay, you've got to be the people. When you choose not to be the people, you're not self-governing anymore. If you're choosing to be your person, you're choosing to be your social security number, you're choosing to be your driver's license, you're choosing to be your birth certificate, you're choosing to be your all caps name, you're no longer the people. You're no longer self-governing. And maybe you can't. I know a lot of you can't. A lot of you don't know what the fuck to do. Not an indictment. You've been poisoned and tricked and lied to. But your system of figuring things out and learning what to do is compromised. You're doing nothing but figuring out what other people tell you to do. you're figuring out nothing but methods. You are incapable of seeing the whole picture. But as soon as you try, as soon as you get into that vibration, you get into that energy, you will start to see it. That's how it works. That's why Tesla said, secret to the universe is frequency, vibration, and energy. It's not discrete logic and understanding and this and that other. It's frequency. You got to meditate with it. You got to be in it. You got to speak it. You got to do it, and then it starts to build on itself. When you just go to somebody else for the answer, you get the answer, and your brain stops fucking working. Okay, you got a problem. You go to a lawyer. The lawyer handles it, and you don't even know what's going on. And they put on this magic show, and then you get what you get. And if you paid a lot of money, you probably can get what you want. If you didn't, who knows what you're going to get? You know, and that's why the courts won't even talk to you. The government won't even talk to you unless you have a lawyer, because they want you to be that thing. And ultimately, they don't want the people to know who the people are, because as soon as the people know who the people are, they will see the reason why they don't want the people to know who they are, because that reason is treason. The United States is treasonous. The United States has hijacked the American people. And every state government is not the state of people. It is a subcorporation of the United States Incorporated. It is a foreign entity that is occupying us and extorting us. So I don't know if the great orange Trump is going to fix it. I keep hearing these wonderful stories, but I've been hearing wonderful stories for 8 years, and we're still here. The banks are still taking our houses. The banks are still making us pay debts. So until that changes, he's just an actor. Hopefully he does something, but I'm not holding my breath. So, but yeah, maybe that's a conversation for another topic. All right, I'm about to end this, but Nick Nolte, you're on. If there's anything you want me to talk about, throw it in the chat. If not, I'm going to end this. I'll give you 15 seconds. All right. That was my first attempt at a live stream. I guess I'll see some comments if you liked it or you did not. Sweet. Y'all have a good one. Okay. Where to start reading? I almost hit the end button and you got it in there. You got to read the original founding documents. Okay. You got to know what the Constitution is. You got to know what the Articles of Confederation means and why it's there. You got to start with how things are supposed to be, really. And, you know, the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers, you understand why the nation was created the way it was. To see how things are supposed to be. You got to see that. You got to get that. All right. And once you get that, then you can see who the bad actors are. And then you can start defining the lines. You know, if you just jump in to chase a method to try to get out of it, you're going to get spun up. There's so many crap methods out there. There's a lot of liars out there keeping you away from the truth. And so if you're studying in some package or some other thing, you're not working with the truth. But and then I definitely, you know, once you see that, you know, look, and Black's Law's Dictionary is a big one, you know, and looking up definitions is huge in everything you do. Okay, look up the definitions of the state statutes and the state constitution. They're going to be a little different, but you got to know what words they're talking about. Okay, and then when you look at the UCC, you know, there's a lot of 80% of the UCC is understanding the definitions. And they're everywhere. They just scatter them everywhere. So, yeah, founding documents is what I would start with, and that's the Declaration of Independence, Northwest Ordinance, the Treaty of Paris. There's 5. Constitution, Treaty of There's Northwest Ordinance. Northwest Ordinance, there's 5. Let's see. Declaration of Independence, Articles of Confederation, Northwest Ordinance, Treaty of Paris, Constitution. They're all available at aguagiero.net on the DIY page right up top. Now they're all in Word form, and I've added some notes to them. But and again, you don't got to know the details of all that. You don't got to know, like, study it like you did in high school or college. You got to just know why it's there. What is it trying to say? And the Articles of Confederation are the most important one. What is that? Know what it is, okay? The states are different than DC. They're different things. And that got hijacked. So, and the states are supposed to be you. They're supposed to be the people. It's supposed to be our government, and it's not. So there you go. All right, now I'm ending it. Thanks for getting on, Nick. I will talk to you all later.